better than ever. And I know right now that I'm going somewhere and I need some cheddar. Oh, baby, better.
Hey everyone, it's
Better
Andre
not
Luck
go.
here for my next episode of the Sports Sales Show, where I'm going to talk about how the best reps within sports, they don't lead with employee group outings, because a lot of reps, that's their default. That's where a lot of the business comes and a lot of volume comes. But those bigger sales, they're not starting with employee group outings. That's the default. That's the back burner if you can't get into the sales and marketing budget. So we'll talk through that, what the best reps do, where other reps struggle, and making sure you use the right language so that you're getting to talking to someone about their business objectives, not fun and bringing your employees out to a game. There's a place for that. There's definitely times where that happens, where you're going to see more success. And as your business looks to scale and sell larger dollar deals, 5, 6, 7 figure dollar deals, like that's going to come from people that can really get in and navigate through a business and understand their objectives and how they can grow their business, increase their clients, drive more revenue, retain their clients, keep revenue. Like those are the things that really unlock bigger, higher dollar sales. So we'll talk through why reps default to groups and what the best reps do to transition from that. So why they start with groups. It's just easier. Like when you reach out to someone and you say, hey, who's the person that's in charge of new business acquisition? One, the person may not know, or two, like they're busy. That person, like if they're not interested, they could shut you down really quick. They're salespeople, they're executives, they're busy. So as a younger or a newer salesperson, you're a little timid. And that's why a lot of people fear calling businesses, because they're worried about what they're going to say. But you lead with, hey, I'd love to talk about bringing your employees out to a game. Most people are going to be pretty open to that. And at least like, all right, well, tell me what you got. So you have more success getting through to talk to someone about that. But those people string you along. Like they'll go back and forth. It takes a lot of time to plan a group. It's for a lot less money than it would be for a larger set or for a new business acquisition or something that's going to help them drive business. So, you have this kind of false safety net and like going to a group outing, employee group outing, thinking that that's going to lead to something. And a lot of times it typically doesn't. And if it does, it's for a lot less. And we'll talk through what the average outing looks like from a revenue perspective versus, something that helps the sales and marketing budget. So that's one. It's easier. It's more comfortable for reps. It's safer of an ask when you're, especially when you're timid to call new businesses. The other thing, which there's pros and cons to this, but a lot of reps, they get to keep their groups because teams have created these dedicated service teams, which makes sense when you have season tickets, because there's just a higher volume. There's a lot more that goes into managing a season ticket account versus groups. They don't come back as frequently, so it almost is like a new sale every time bringing them back. So a lot of people get to keep that. So they like the safety net of having groups. So if you have the option of like, let me sell them a season ticket or a group, some default to groups because they're incentivized for the wrong behavior that maybe doesn't help drive the business. So a lot of people like to keep their groups, and then they don't tap into those opportunities for season tickets, sweet leads, whatever it may be, because they all may lose that account. So that's just more how do you set up your business. But that is a reason that I've seen a lot of people go to groups. The other thing, it's just more memorable when you reach out to someone. And if you're talking tickets, they're gonna be like, oh, group outing. We brought our group out. We brought our employees out. Like that's who you need to talk to. And so it's very important the type of language that you use. It's not, hey, I'm calling from XYZ team about tickets. I'm calling to talk to the person that's in charge of this initiative that I know is very relevant to you all right now, or that is a top initiative for you over the next 3 to 6 months because you've done your research, you looked it up, and you come thoughtful with relevant information. So if you just say I'm here with tickets, they're not probably going to send you the person to do season tickets. They're going to send you the person that probably plans employee group outings, or if they've done a group outing in the past, oh, this person you need to talk to. Um, Everyone's familiar with the group outing too. So if you're a newer rep, and you have the choice of, all right, I can call it business and I have very little business acumen, but I've been to groups before. I came with my little league, I came with my church, I came with my college fraternity, whatever it may be. Like everyone has been part of a group, so it's just better understood of like what it is. So a lot of reps default to that, and if they don't have sound training and you just get thrown on the phones to talk about tickets, then yeah, you just start rambling and going on, and then you're like, yeah, bringing your employees out to a game, because we see that like that sticks, and like it is a big part of our business. Like don't get me wrong, like that definitely is something that needs to happen because If your team's not playing well, you got to fill the seats, and groups are a great way to do that. If your team is playing well, you got to fill in that last bit of inventory, and groups are a great way to do that. But if you're looking to sell premium inventory, if you're looking to grow your revenue and like really get larger dollar sales, it can't be leading with employee group outings. That has to be something that's more in parallel, or a secondary focus. And the top reps, like, they go after that. So let's talk about what the top reps do and why they see success closing large 5, 6, 7 figure deals. They know that it could be a time pit trying to go after a group outing that doesn't have legs. They cut that off very quickly if they know that it's not going to, be the return that they're expecting. Where a lot of reps get happy ears, and no one completely rules out an outing unless their executives say there's no way we're doing it. Stop talking to this person. Like, yeah, I'm going to talk to some people, and I'm going to poll the office and see what they think. And like, I have so many times, and even today, as clients I work with, you hear that like, all right, they're thinking about it. But if you really think about what it takes to bring a group of people together, find the right time in the year when businesses are busy, get it on the calendar, get approval from, like, there's so many steps that go into planning a group outing. So, the top reps, they don't waste their time if they're not getting the engagement back, if the person isn't moving things forward, if they're not talking to the right people who can actually greenlight this, and moving up the chain of people, not even to like really work the full deal, but like talk to them, bring them in, and make sure that they're engaged and kind of get their feedback throughout the process. So they're not wasting time. And if they do get a sale, they're bringing in other people. They're not afraid to ask their boss, hey, I need the coordinator to help me with this, or I need the intern to help me with this, or maybe like an inside sales rep that can help me with these things, because they know they have to go out and get more business. And getting final numbers and making sure that you have headcount and mailing out tickets. If hopefully we're not still mailing out tickets, but like those administrative type stuff, like they know that takes time away from them, so they don't waste their time with that. It's not that they're providing poor service. They find the right people that can do that well, so they can go focus on more productive revenue generating tasks. And with chat gpt and like these AI tools now, a lot of that administrative stuff you don't have to worry about. Like, something else can handle that, and you can focus on the relationships, driving business, growing business, everything like that. The other thing that they do really well, they grow their groups. So if you have groups and you have a book of business, if you've been there long enough, you're going to have groups. I'm not saying don't sell them, but they grow them. They find ways that, all right, we did 50 this year. Here's what it looks like to do 100, or let's do 2 outings of 50 so we get 100. Or we talked about multi-threading a couple episodes ago. So I'm working with the person that handles employee group outings. They find the person themselves and look on LinkedIn. Hey, it looks like Sharon's over sales, and it looks like Tom's over marketing. Like, I also work with sales and marketing leaders. Can you make that introduction? So now they turn their group outing of 20, 50 tickets that's like $1,000 into 1,000, maybe 2,000 the next year, and then they get a suite on that too, so another $5,000. Then season tickets, another $20,000. So like, they do a great job of cultivating the business, and not like, I'm just going to keep my group and just do my group every single year. They're going to find other ways to look and grow that and everything like that. So they do that well. They multi-thread, they maximize it. But the biggest thing is they don't start with group outings. They start with the business development route. They're not afraid to have that conversation. And if you've had success, you start to have more confidence, and like, what works when having those conversations with people: new client acquisition, current client retention, taking care of your low performing, or your high risk of churning accounts. Like, those are things that business people are thinking about and talking about, so they go into the conversation with that, and not, hey, I'd like to talk about season tickets for your business. Easily getting shut down there. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, I call businesses, it doesn't work, because you're going with the wrong information. You're going with the wrong language. So you need to make sure that you're talking to people about things that are relevant to their business. And so they'll start on the business development route, and they'll have the employee group outing either parallel or probably secondary in their back pocket that they know they can get to later if they try these other areas and it didn't work. But when you lead there, if you are going to lead there, because maybe that's your focus, make sure you're also getting into the sales and marketing side. So that's where a lot of the top reps, they just have success. They're disciplined, and like, oh, is this about group outings? Nope, it's about new client acquisition. They're like, oh, well, we do group outings, great, log that, write it down in the CRM, I'll come back to that later. But like, I'm staying focused on stay close to the money. How are they driving revenue for their business, and how can you help them do that? So want to talk through like real numbers or like a hypothetical, but like what it actually looks like in a business as it relates to how much revenue they bring in and then how much they spend on sales and marketing versus client incentive or employee incentives and rewards and things like that. So let's say you have like a private company or even public, like a company, small mid-sized business does about $10 million in revenue. That's usually the size of what we're probably working with, maybe a little more. Obviously the bigger deals, larger companies that are doing in the hundreds of millions of revenue. But let's say most people are probably talking to someone in like the $10 million range. So most companies, they're going to spend about 10 to 15%, just from some of the research I did, on of their revenue on sales and marketing. So let's call that, if it's 10 million, you're spending about $1 million on sales and marketing. That's headcount, that's staffing, that's marketing initiatives, that's getting leads out in the community events, even tickets probably could be in that. So you spend about $1 million there. Most companies also in that range spend about 10 to 15% of their revenue on payroll and compensation. So, and taking it a step further, usually about of that $1 million, that 10 to 15%, we'll call it $10 million, they spend about 1% of that on employee incentives. So that's group outings, that's lunches, holiday parties not even thrown in there, like awards if someone like was a top performer each month. So 1 to 2%. So let's call it 1%. So you got this company that does $10 million in revenue. At most, if they choose to do a group outing, they're probably going to be in that $5,000 to $10,000 range. Not a bad sale, but like there's just like that's all they have allotted for outings. And that could be you plus another sports team, you plus bowling or going to do a picnic or something like that. So you're already starting with max that they even have budgeted amongst all this other competition is this, where again on that sales and marketing side, they have $1 million that they spend on trying to drive revenue.
That's nothing, that's nothing. I'ma be doing this and I'm gonna be head hunting. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go.